All right, everybody. Thank you for coming to Urban Outfitters, the Cryptoon Goonz takeover. If you're part of the Goon Gang, let me hear some noise. Let me hear some noise. Let me hear some noise. First off, I'd like to thank Urban Outfitters for making this opportunity possible. It's a new space, so it takes courage to kind of get into it and explore it. To start off, I want to introduce everybody on this panel. We have Drew, who has been make it up for Drew, who has been in the printing industry for over 10 years, the founder, owner of Print Hub, and he may have the best hair on the panel, still to be determined. They call him the clothing guy at the Goonz team, so shout out Drew. Nicole from the Shopify team, she's been there since 2018. Let's make some noise. She's been there since 2018, and she's leading their charge in NFTs and blockchain technology, telling the story to the world. Alongside me right here, we have Jesse. He is a co-founder of the Cryptoon Goonz. Make it up for Jesse. He is the computer guy. He is the tech guy. He's a smart guy, to say the least. He's been at MLB, HBO, Twitter, Disney streaming, the works. He's built it. And over here, we have Chris, who is the founder of IYK, a platform and product that is bringing NFT technology into the real world with wearables. Shout out, Chris. Let's make some noise. And I am Austin. I'll be the moderator for today's panel, also known as Mac and Cheesy. I'm the founder of the Incubator. We are a one-stop consulting shop for Web3. Our most recent thing, we helped open the portal for the Cryptoon Goonz, so we're excited about that. So, how's everyone doing today? I know we came in from different places, flew in from Toronto today. How's that going?
I'm here. There were technical issues on the plane, but it didn't crash. So that's just very grateful to be here.
Was always gonna make it.
So Nicole, you just got in, and I figured start with an easy question. In your own words, what is Web3? Which is a hard question to answer.
Oh yeah, I get asked this one all the time. My mom asks me, my grandma asks me, random people on the street ask me when I'm wearing like a Bitcoin t-shirt, so I have like a prepared answer. So I think for me, when I explain it to people, regular people, Web3 is really about just like the next iteration of the internet. So we had Web 1, I don't know who remembers, I'm gonna age myself a bit here, I don't know who remembers MySpace, and GeoCities, that kind of thing where you could like read stuff on the internet. You couldn't really interact with it much, but there was something there. Web 2 was really the age of like the Facebook, the Instagram. You could read and write things, and you could have your own blog and everything like that. Web 3 to me is where we get into read, write, and own. So not only are you reading what other people have, you're writing to the internet, but you're also owning your own content, and you can own different parts. And that to me is what Web 3 is.
Now, you said a couple terms there, right? Read, write, own. Now, Jesse, from a technical side of things, right? Do you want to dive into what that means and how Web3 is different from like a technical side of things for Web 1, Web 2, and just talk about that progression as an engineer?
Yeah, if we go back to the first era of the internet, Web 1, we talked about GeoCities. Shout out. Anyone here had a GeoCities site? I know I did. The internet was just beginning, right? This is the late 90s. It looks a lot like newspapers, magazines, right? It kind of just copied what had came before it. It hadn't really made the next step into being something different. It was just copying the original to make it easier for users to understand. But it hadn't really taken innovative steps. And so when we got to Web 2, which is when we saw Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, all these different social platforms where the users are generating the content and the users are creating things out there by writing a tweet, posting on Facebook. And this content is being stored though inside of Facebook, Twitter, their computer systems, right? They own all that data. It's centralized. It's what we call a walled garden. No one can see inside it, right? And they own 99% of it. When someone posts a great viral tweet or a good Facebook post, like Facebook benefits the most in generally, right? Because they can do ads, they can do different things like that. And so Web3 is this next progression to take back some of that ownership, share some of that ownership. Like, why should Facebook and these companies own 99%? How about you just own like 60, 65%? You know, share a little bit, right? Because like the early contributors who started, like if you were like there at day one of Facebook, you were probably really impactful on its growth. And so Web3 is about getting the data out of these walled gardens, putting it into the blockchain, which is more transparent and available to everyone, and kind of take away some of these insane competitive advantages that these companies have, so that the take rate, meaning like they can't overcharge, you know, Facebook can't charge 65% type fee on a marketplace or something like that. You know, you get down to like a 2% fee, and making it more fair for users.
Now, a key thing there is kind of the ownership aspect of that. Now, Chris, as the founder of IYK, right, a big thing is kind of NFTs and bringing it into the real world. And we're using the term Web3 a lot. But, right, the Goonz are an NFT-based project. Do you want to touch on how NFTs can change how the world identifies ownership and how that can affect kind of the world going forward?
For sure. So just building on what Jesse said there, one very practical example of how the inversion of ownership helps the end user is, let's say if you've ever been annoyed with an update that Instagram made, where it's like, oh, why'd they do that to my feed? Well, in the Web3 world, those posts that you submitted to the platform are owned by you. So you could just disconnect your wallet. There's probably a number of other community-built feeds that you can just connect into, and boom, all of your assets just show up in a different UI. And that's like the power of owning your own posts. For the physical world, we're using NFTs it's the same ethos where NFTs are a very powerful mechanism to build community. So people on the street who wear Jordan or Nikes, Adidas, whatever, you know, brand you align with the most, there's a community there that by tagging clothes, you can create the same sort of experiences that are occurring in the digital world for people who own physicals. And that's kind of what we're leading with, where, you know, the concept of buying a JPEG is very abstract for a lot of people, but people buy very particular clothes. That's very familiar, right? So just having a digital twin where maybe you can chat with people who own the same shoes as you, or have like access to rare SKUs because, you know, you're a huge Nike fan and you own like 20 sneakers. The brands don't have that visibility into your closet today, and that's kind of what the NFT can provide.
Now, you said that NFT JPEGs, these images, and I know, just for a show of hands, right? This time last year, how many people in the audience owned an NFT? Okay. Now, today, how many people in here own an NFT? Okay, a lot more people, right? So that indicates that something's changing. I don't know what, something's changing. And Drew, I want to throw it over to you, right? Because you are very much in this space. You weren't always a believer, right? Can you touch on your skepticism to start in the NFT industry and how you became an NFT degenerate, for lack of a better term?
I think the biggest thing for me before being introduced to the space is just anytime you're seeing just headlines or whatever, you're obviously getting not that much information, and all I'm seeing, which no offense to certain things, is like art that I probably wouldn't put on my wall selling for way more than art I would put on my wall. And so for that reason, at the time, I was just like, this is mad corny. And then I was invited to go with the Goonz to Art Basel, which was a super sick experience. Got to meet everyone for the first time, see some of my homies' art that was on walls at Art Basel. But the thing that didn't happen with that was one morning, y'all were like, we're gonna have a community meetup. And there were probably like I don't know, 20, 30 people there in like less than 10 hours notice. Everyone was super hyped, vibing. Nobody had met each other. Some people drove from like 6 hours away. And that's kind of when I was like, all right, this is like about the art, but there's something more here. So like, I'm gonna take a look into it, and I've looked into it and I like it.
The cool thing about NFTs is like, there aren't like third generation NFT JPEG merchants. Like whoever's in the space decided to get into the space recently. They're a trailblazer, right? Everybody raise their hand. You're a trailblazer in your own sense. Now, Chris, from your side, right? When you decided to find IYK, what made you initially say, okay, I want to change what I'm doing. I want to build something. Like, what was the main reason why you decided to start it?
Yeah, I think, first of all, my co-founder, he's also Gen Z, and he has the same level of experience as anyone else in the world, right? So that's like the beauty of this industry being so young, is that we're all still early. The people in this room who are trying to learn, it's still early, right? For IYK, there was one really salient example that kind of spurred the entire journey for us, which was Dolce & Gabbana was dropping these sneakers in collab with an NBA player, PJ Tucker. And it was like $800, and they said it's coming with an NFT. So we were excited because it was like NFT season. We were like all over OpenSea and Discords, like trying to find what the next cool drop was. And we dug a little deeper, and the mechanism they would give you the NFT was you would have a code on your receipt that after you bought the shoes, you can go to a separate form, put in your email address, your ETH address, and that redemption code, and then they would airdrop it to you. So for us, we thought that was a little goofy because you can instantly sell that NFT on OpenSea but keep the shoe. Or you can sell the shoe on eBay but keep the NFT. So there were completely detached assets when the spirit of the drop was that these things were meant to be together. So for us, like, we just spent like the next several weeks just brainstorming like what's the best mechanism to permanently link an NFT to a physical, and we eventually arrived on our pull model, which is programming these NFC chips. We embed it in apparel, so hoodies, t-shirts to start, but it really scales out to, we think, like statues or any, like putting it on a canvas before a painter does their thing. And the way it works is you tap your phone, the chip gives you a unique signature, and then you're allowed to claim the corresponding NFT. And so if you were to sell your sneaker to the next person, they can actually tap their phone and claim that NFT out of your wallet and into theirs. So the entire goal was to have an NFT that was actually a digital proxy for physical possession. And we're hoping that that creates like a next generation rewards opportunity where, Louis Vuitton, they can't reward you for your past purchases because they don't actually know what's in your closet, right? So to be able to have a digital proxy for ownership of physicals, you can take a snapshot of like 2020 collection owners and maybe 5 of them win, like a trip to a fashion show. But it's really like this base layer that we're hoping to power.
And you're making up the rules as you go, you're building, you're breaking, and being kind of the founder, right? You get to decide how you want to build it. Now, Nicole, at Shopify, right, it might be a little bit different to integrate NFTs and kind of the blockchain technology. Do you want to touch on what it's like working within the confines of a major company, but also on this cutting edge technology where you kind of are making up the rules as you go?
Yeah, so we're definitely making up the rules as we go. We are definitely breaking shit. You just can't see, but we have definitely broken some shit and we fixed it, no worries. But what we're really focusing on right now, so we have 2 things. What we want to do is we want to empower Web3 commerce. And so what that means to us right now is all of these great Web3, like behind all these great Web3 brands are entrepreneurs, and they want to sell more than NFTs. They want to sell amazing Urban Outfitters t-shirts, for example. And other really cool stuff like art toys, apparel, like shoes eventually. Like there's just so much stuff that these Web3 first brands want to sell, but they don't want to sell it to just anyone. They want to make it exclusive to holders. And so what we've done is we are working with some app partners within our app ecosystem, and they've developed apps that go on top of the Shopify online store that you connect your wallet, and it lets you know if you can purchase the cool merch or not. And we're also working on a mobile experience for that. That's going to be within our consumer-facing shop app. So that's first party. That is in very early access beta, but token gating on the online store is available to everyone.
It's pretty awesome because, right, as Shopify is building that, the Goonz community, they were one of the first companies, brands to actually integrate Shopify technology into their own store, right? Jesse, do you want to touch on the technical aspects of building within Shopify? You know, maybe there's some problems, maybe there aren't, but building within Shopify and like the problems that you have to solve as a Web3 engineer versus the traditional kind of Web2 world.
100%. So when we launched the Cryptoon Goonz, we very much wanted to create more than just NFTs, right? We wanted to create art in different ways on t-shirts, apparel. Last night we had an awesome party out in Brooklyn, and we had some cool like graphics on the walls, and people were like, "Oh, can I get that? Like, I want that." And like so we want to create art in many different ways and let people really experience the brand in many ways. And the people we want to really focus on tremendously are the original believers in us, our holders, the people who minted our NFT, who own our NFT, right? They without them, we aren't here today, right? And so the name of the game is driving value back to them as often and as much as we can, right? And so when we launched our store on Shopify, we introduced what's called token gating. And so when you have token gating, this allows you to create commerce experiences where the user proves that they own an NFT, right? So it's not right-click, save the JPEG, like, oh, I own it now too. No, you can't enter our store to our exclusive areas without owning this token. This token is a proof of ownership that you own that JPEG and that you now receive exclusive access to unique items that no one else in the general public will be able to get access to. Or maybe we're doing a public sale, but we're gonna offer 20, 30, 40% discounts to our holders because they helped us out, and we want to continue to drive value back to them. And so using Shopify's platform and writing some custom technology to kind of integrate into it, which is not easy today. And that's why we're super excited to be working with Shopify as they grow their platform and make it easier to do these things. We can do so much more creativity with how we reward users and create really cool experiences and how you actually purchase our apparel.
Now, for people listening, right, if they wanted to build, like, how do they, so Jesse, Nicole, you guys kind of had like, were you working together? How does that work from like integrating with these bigger systems, but then into your actual product? Because it is so new.
So you did a custom build for token gating, right?
Yep. Okay,
because it was a while ago. So now it's a little bit easier. We have some people that did custom builds that turned them into consumer-facing apps. So Manifold is one of the most popular ones. Lit Protocol, there's a bunch that you can just download right from the App Store. So you just search token gating apps, I think, and you'll find it. If you do want to learn more about building a store on Shopify and doing token gated commerce, we have our brand new landing page that just launched today. So happy. It is shopify.com/token-gated-commerce. And it is the place to learn everything. I think shopify.com/NFT also redirects there. So if that's easier to remember, it goes all to the same place. And you just set up a Shopify store, you throw an app on there, you go.
There you go. Now, Drew, coming to you, right? So you've been in the industry for over 10 years, and what have you seen from like kind of the boots on the ground, right? Printing t-shirts, right? Like the base layer. What have you seen in terms of actually it disrupting the production end of the apparel industry? Or how have you seen NFTs kind of changing what you're doing?
I don't know if it does. I think it's pretty much kind of the same, like even from like a branding standpoint a little bit more. I think like the difference is it's like, for instance, like whether it's a Goon or it's Bored at Yacht Club or something like that, if you walk by that person on the street, you're very likely to be like, what up? And have a conversation, where it's like I might be wearing Palace one day and somebody else is, I'm probably not gonna have that same interaction. And I think that's the coolest part about looking at the apparel and events building and things like that, is how broader the community is, and really looking to ways to, whether it's through the IRL events with making the clothes last night and people being able to pick all the stuff they want, and then the person next to them was like, oh, like, wait, you should do this here or whatever. And I think that's the coolest part of merging NFTs with apparel and brands and all of that, is being able to build with the community together. Whereas like a lot of other brands that I've worked with, it's just like not the same thing at all on that side of things. And that's what makes the biggest difference.
Yeah, I'll jump in there real quick. I think adding on top of that, like, I think the big thing is we have direct access to some of our biggest fans. And so we getting this amazing ideas and feedback on like what we should be doing and how we could change and do things differently. So it's like, hey, why don't you do this? And you're like, I never would have thought of that. And because we literally have an amazing group of people in the Goon gang giving us these ideas, really helping us create this thing together. And I think that's the big part, is like, normally when you build these companies in traditional Web 2, you're building it kind of by yourself. And in Web 3, it's totally different. You're building it as a group, and anyone can kind of jump in and contribute. And it's just amazing.
And I feel like that's because everyone's an owner, right? Everyone's so invested in the project. Like at Shopify, we have a saying act like an owner, like act like a merchant. And when you own something, you take so much better care of it. You're so much more invested. And that's what really makes Web3 so different from anything we've really seen before.
Now, I think a lot of people listening are probably like, well, you can take input from the community, but they don't actually, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But talk about the community wallet, Jesse, and how and this isn't just for the Cryptoon Goonz, right? This is kind of throughout the Web3 and NFT ecosystem. There are certain funds that you actually can't access unless the community agrees for what you're using it for. So Jesse, do you want to touch on maybe the high level technicals of what a community wallet does and how those initiatives are created, kind of thoroughly looked through, and then hopefully implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a community wallet called the Goonz Stash, and this is a set of funding that is dedicated to the community. And so in order to spend it and do things with it, we have a whole voting system and a framework around that. And every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we meet in our community to talk through different ideas, what we could be working on. If anyone had created a proposal throughout the week, we will review it, talk through it as a team, and we actually had a proposal that didn't quite make it through in terms of the voting, because we need a certain amount of participation. But we literally had someone come up with an idea of how we could advertise around the area here around Urban Outfitters on the link stations, and they run their own OOH company, which does advertising like that. And they put a proposal in, and within 48 hours, we had a vote going on, should we spend $10,000 to do more advertising around here in Urban Outfitters? Because someone in the community just had this idea, and that ability to activate like that and be a part of it, it isn't even just the ownership. It's everyone knows that the door is open to walk through. Our office doors are wide open, and anyone can walk in and come hang out in our office effectively, talk to us, come up with ideas, and work together. And I think that's the real power of all this.
So the Discord community, right? It's like the online office of the world, where previously, if you wanted to kind of walk into somebody's office, you had to be physically there and you had to have a conversation with them there. Whereas now, you pop in the Discord and you can have a conversation with founders, creators, builders instantly. Now, Drew, we are in this facility because Urban Outfitters allowed for this, right? That's not easy. That doesn't happen overnight. Can you talk about what it was like working with a major brand like Urban Outfitters to get the Goonz in here, right? This is awesome. This is dope. This is freaking dope. How did this happen?
It's definitely better
you can
than
clap.
I think.
You can clap. This is awesome. We're at Urban Outfitters in New York City. If you were to tell me this a year ago, I'd be like, no, what? You're wild. How does this happen?
I think a lot of it is, again, with the community aspect. Jordan, my boy, we've lived together, done some brands and stuff. Sorry, I smoked a lot of cigs yesterday because I was stressed. We're talking, and he's, seeing me post about what are these things that you're talking about, And so we started having some conversations, and from him also working with other brands, I was like, there's like a weird thing going on with this NFT stuff that is not normal in like the streetwear industry whatsoever. And I started talking to him about like our numbers and just repeat buyers, and like I was like, no, like people love, like they're a part of this. This is like we say it's, I feel like it's corny to say, but like it's like this is like a family of people that are like talking to each other, vibing, building, and so then we just kind of started rolling, talking to a bunch of the other wonderful team members over here, and when it started, I think we kind of just thought we were gonna throw some shirts online, and now it's definitely been a really cool experience today.
It's not just apparel. It's more than that. It is so much more than that. Now, Chris, kind of from your side, right? As you're building IYK and you're building it out, right? What are some of the things that you've seen from kind of like how products can kind of lead to people being more and more interested in the space? Like, because you're changing what utility can be driven from NFTs. So can you talk about building this out and kind of how this additional utility can kind of expand the world that we know in the NFT space?
Yep, for sure. So for us, we're hoping to just be another tool for project owners like Jesse with the Goonz to reach people IRL. So for example, instead of having a plain t-shirt, if it was linked to an NFT, he can create a new channel for official merch owners. And maybe he wants to do an IRL activation where in order to get into the party, you tap your chip and it's used as access control IRL. He can also, through our platform, we're planning like different entitlements. So maybe you want to provide a free drink for people who supported you with your clothes. That can also be programmed into the chip. At a more basic level, we see it as a new channel for content. So maybe there's exclusive Goonz content that only comes to merch owners and it's ephemeral. So maybe it's only there for 24 hours. And it's just another way for brands and projects to engage with their community where they are, right? So if you're wearing your shirt, like, it's easy. If you're at an event, that's what you do versus having everything be digital only. So we're just hoping to extend the reach and the mechanism in which like brands can reach their communities.
So that's one of the kind of the future and what that could look like. Jesse, do you want to touch on, like yesterday, right? I got a ticket for the Goonz party. I had to own a portal or an OG Goon. I have a portal Goon. I sent it through, and I was able to get into the event. Jesse, do you want to talk on some of the current utility for like the Goonz project or some of the other projects that are out there, like what's currently being done in this space?
100%. So yeah, for the Goonz, we have a variety of different utilities. And so one being early, exclusive, or discounted access, or sometimes a combination of all of them to our apparel. And so when we have limited drops that might sell out very quickly, the Goon Gang gets exclusive access to a certain item or early access to the drop itself. And then, of course, the Goon Gang always gets the Goon Gang discount along the way, which is amazing. Like we're selling like really high quality apparel, like this, stuff that you would see some projects and some companies out there charging, a lot of money for that. And the Goon Gang always gets that price. And so holding a Goon NFT gets you that utility. And then anytime we're having events like last night over in Brooklyn, or some of our pretty amazing events coming up this week, we're gonna have a soccer match down in Chinatown where we painted a mural over the roof, and there's gonna be DJs and music and just good vibes and some cool activations where you're gonna be actually customizing some soccer jerseys there. You have to own a Goon NFT to come to that event, to experience that. And so those are some of the pretty cool things we're doing.
And for anybody who hasn't been at an NFT party, I don't know what you're imagining, but they're pretty awesome, right? Because the energy is is just different. It just feels different, right? Because a lot of the times it's people meeting each other that they've been talking to for months, if not years, in person, and it's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, it's actually crazy because you spend so much time talking to each other online. You know, throughout the pandemic, obviously we've had a harder time getting together in person, and so when you finally do get in person, and you're like, wait, are you NFT Princess? Like, oh my God, so exciting to meet you in person. Like, and we've been connecting through these channels in the metaverse, and it's so energizing to finally connect in person. And so it's the beauty of building and finding your community online and meeting in person. I think we're kind of seeing this shift in a way, right? You meet online, you find like-minded people through the internet, and then you go meet in person through these communities that you're a part of, and do stuff together and make new memories and have fun.
And we're talking about all of kind of these awesome things that are going on, but as a founder, right, it is hard. A lot of these things are challenging to build because they're so new. Now, Chris, I want to talk about some of the challenges that you face as a founder and just building in this space.
Yeah, for us, it's all about managing the trade-off between being very Web3 and the user experience. So, you know, expecting everyone to have a mobile wallet is, you know, it's just not practical today. So we're having to optimize like our product roadmap where, you know, we put enough features that's still exciting for, you know, someone who's not onboarded yet. And the hope is to create enough incentive and think that it's cool enough that you want to create your first wallet and you want to claim the NFT. So it's definitely a delicate balance because we want to stay true to why we're all here. But at the same time, like I said, you know, it's still very early and we just want to make it as, you know, frictionless as possible for the end user. So that's been the main challenge for us.
Well, and just to jump in, so earlier today we were doing live minting over around the corner there and using IYK's technology to help people mint on their phone, and we literally have clipboards and paper to write down, like set up your wallet. We're over there like teaching people and helping them understand these things, and so these kind of events are really important and helpful for teaching people to come into this space because it is complicated right now, for sure.
The teaching aspect, right? Everybody who's here is new to the space by default, which means that everybody had to kind of learn about it. Now, Nicole, coming to you, right? On Shopify's side, what type of hesitation do you see from stores? Are stores reaching out just to explore? Like, what are those conversations like for people that are just not crypto natives, but they're more crypto curious?
Yeah, so we have a lot of really big brands that are very crypto curious. Some of the limitations that they have on their side is convincing certain like CEO, like C-suite people, they don't understand what it is. And I think that's where having events like this and like making it more just normal in the world to talk about NFTs and people know what that means is so important because that's how we kind of get that mass adoption. And I think until we can have bigger brands doing cool stuff without getting blocked by a bunch of red tape, like you should see some of the email threads that I've got with these, oh my gosh, it's crazy. But every brand that we onboard into some kind of blockchain, big or small, is such a win for us and a win for the blockchain community.
Mm-hmm. And as the blockchain community expands, right, it's really not it's not a zero-sum game in the NFT space, right, because it's expanding so rapidly. And I think that's why everybody's so welcoming and open to help teach because you're onboarding new users. And I'm just gonna kind of open this up to really everybody. What are some of the questions that a lot of people ask you from like being in the space, right? We're kind of very much we're in deep, right? Like what are some of the questions that people ask you and like that you find like, okay, we still have a long ways to go.
What NFT should I buy?
I
think that's the main one, and I think it just goes to show that people are very excited. I kind of think about like the .com boom. Like, does anyone remember when people used to buy all those domains? Like you'd buy like snacks.com and you could sell it for $1 million or something, and then that kind of went away. I feel like that's kind of sometimes what people are trying to get at.
Is that what's happening with .eth domains?
I don't know. But I think that really shows that the general understanding of the underlying technology, which is what powers all of this and makes it so cool, really has a long way to go.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of bottlenecks in the technology itself, and one of the main things is a lot of these NFTs are built on Ethereum, which is where the Goonz are, right? And to transact, it costs a good amount of money just to actually do something on the network. And we're seeing upgrades like layer 2 solutions. We're seeing something called ERC 721A, which is a cheaper way to mint NFTs. Jesse, do you want to talk about how changes in the technology itself could open up different doors for different use cases that communities can actually build out and reduce the friction for people to enter into the space?
It's actually funny. I think the big problem is that we talk too much about the technology, right? Like, to build great products and things that people love, we need to talk about the user experience, right? And how building something that a user will understand, love, and make it easy, right? And we're onboarding people over there to mint an NFT, and like, I'm getting questions. I'm like, yeah, that's hard to explain. Like, this isn't easy enough yet, right? And so we have a ways to go as an industry, and I think that's what's exciting about building in it, though. We're learning about where are the sticking points and what can we do to improve the wallet experience. You know, I think the wallet experience really is the big one we need to get better at. Is it can't be so scary or hard or misunderstanding to try and set that up and stay safe in this space. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to continuing to work on that and build on that. And I think, yeah, we can talk about tech all we want, but that's just what powers the fun, you know, so that NFTs can become as common as a website, right? Every brand should eventually have an NFT, and we don't think about websites as being worth a ton of, you know, we don't like speculate and hype on websites, you know, like that's how a brand communicates to its customers, and it brings product to their customers. And so we need to get to a point where NFTs become just a part of what brands do.
I want to build on what. Oh, sorry.
I think everybody wants to talk on that one.
So
We'll go down the line.
I just want to build on what you said about wallets. When I think about like how we're going to get mass adoption, it makes me think about when we had like internet browsers and the evolution of those internet browsers getting better and better and more adoption as that goes on. When we start to see that with wallets, that's when we'll know that like the big wave is coming. Like when we start to see like the Chrome of wallets, that's when we'll know.
Yeah, and I think as far as like you were saying, kind of making it more mainstream, like I get a lot of questions from like the brands I work with or music artists and things like that, and they're like, what do I do with this, or what should it be used for? Because I know we need to in some way, and like I think the easiest way to explain it is it's literally just Patreon, except the people that are subscribing are owners of the project with you, and like if you do a good job, they continue to own it, or they'll sell it for more money because you get rewards if you're a part of it. There's different tiers for different things. And I think that once, like you were saying, with no one cares about the tech. They care about like what can you actually do with the thing. Because even like I've been in crypto for like a really long time if you count like buying it and letting it sit there. Because like that's the extent of what I cared. And I think that's like kind of where a lot of people are. But if you explain like the utility, I think that's the biggest thing that can kind of get more people on board, because it is like, oh, this is cool. I can go to an event that like would right now cost more than the NFT, you know? So it's pretty sick.
Yeah, so just another +1 on the nobody cares about the tech. So from our standpoint, it's like the disc we're using to mint IRL for being at this event. The moment, you know, minting at your favorite artist's concert gives you a chance for a meet and greet or exclusive content, then that's what people care about. They'll do it because they care about their favorite artist. And we actually created that product working with Verite, who's a very Web3 forward independent musician. When she was going on tour last year, she asked us if there were other use cases for the chips because she was about to go on tour and she has no access to fan attendance data. So the ticketing providers are actually, you know, in control of who comes to the shows. and they don't actually share that back with artists. So for us, it was actually a way for her to mint attendance tokens direct to fan without an intermediary. And now she's using that as a primitive to build out her community, where it's a tiered fan experience where like at the base level, you're a Spotify streamer, right? But if you come to shows, like that should get you a little bit more value in her ecosystem. And really, it's just a primitive that, you know, we're providing that's direct to fan. And yeah, no one cares about the tech. It's about like access to your favorite artist.
So the term "I'm here for the tech" is just incorrect. We can all agree on that. Now, correct. Okay. So now, a reality is kind of we've seen this right from the show of hands that was earlier. People got in over the past year, right? And we've seen this high boom, right, of interest volume on secondary markets like OpenSea. And now we're seeing kind of less, right? A little bit less. And then in the crypto world, right, you have the bull and bear markets. Really for anybody, Nicole, what does that mean for crypto, right? When we're in a bear market, like what does that mean from a building perspective? I know that I asked you this before, so I didn't, this isn't but what do you think about that?
So when we're in a bear market, I think it really gives builders a chance to build. So when it was a bull market and everyone was hyped, like we were just getting like smacked with so many merchants, thousands of merchants, 4,000 merchants in like 2 weeks, wanted to know more, and that was so great, and it meant that we had product market fit, we were building the right thing, but like, oh gosh, does it take time to build? And like we need to actually focus on that building. So now that it's quieting down a little bit, this is when the builders are really going to make some really, really cool shit and actually have the time and focus to do it.
No, 100%. When we have all this hype and speculation, there's this pressure to deliver super fast. And when that hype and speculation kind of subsides and the people who really believe in it still are still here and we're working together, that's when we can really build and create and take things forward. And we can experiment more too. Like we don't feel like, oh, like if we take that risk and it doesn't go well, like we're gonna get, killed over it. We can actually try out things, be more innovative, and really experiment more. And so, I think while it is tough to go through for people, I think this is just a healthy thing in the market, and we need to keep building and delivering great customer experiences, helping creators get more connected with their fans, so that we're providing real value here.
Drew and Chris, so this will be kind of what we end up on, right? So building in the bear, right? Do you guys kind of want to elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what are you most excited about, if that's the right term? I don't know if that's the right word, but what are you most excited about kind of going into this building mode?
Honestly, the thing that I'm most excited about, and I'm sorry for everyone that does hold, but lower barrier of entry. It makes it a lot easier for people to think it's cool, pay attention, look into it, because like $3,000 is kind of a lot to be like, I don't know what it is, but I'll try it. You have to find a very specific person for that, where with these prices lower and like other projects I like, even big projects, I mean, there's stuff that I'm looking at where it's like, man, maybe I'll do that now, because for a little while ago it definitely didn't make sense. And now if you believe in the technology and NFTs, everything's getting cooked right now, everything comes back. So it's just like whether you're in a situation where you think it's a good idea or not, but like that's what I'm most hyped about, is it's a lot more reasonable for people to get in and start experimenting and playing around and not just losing all their money, because that was happening a little while ago too. Now you're starting with less to lose, so it's hard to do that.
Anything?
Yeah, for us, it's really an opportunity to just be more deliberate and intentional about what we're building. And it's nice to always question, are we actually providing value? And so from a product standpoint, it just lets us be more focused. With that said, the market being down bad is like painful for everyone, but that's not why I got into the space. Like I wanted to build on top of the Web3 stack so that we can build a better, more consistent experience for everyone. And so that mission hasn't changed, and it won't change with whatever the market cycle is.
Just to jump off that too, I think that's the other thing that's really good about what's happening now is like the people that are left are here because they believe in what's going on and not because they're just able to mint something they can eat and get out, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of the times, at least for me, it's like, what got me here? Like, what got me to want to build in this space? And for me, at least, from last year to today, I only have more conviction, and just seeing the people, the builders and the technologists that are entering this space, it makes me so excited about what the future is, right? We're in Urban Outfitters talking about Web3. A year ago, this doesn't exist. So what can happen 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, who knows? But I think a lot of the people on this panel are probably gonna have to do with that, and I'm excited to kind of watch you guys build, and I'll take some notes in this little book along the way. But yeah, I wanna just kind of close it up there. Thank everybody on this panel. Thank Urban Outfitters for helping put this together. Thank the Goonz, thank the Incubator team, thank you really everybody here. As I mentioned in the beginning, right? If you are here, if you're listening in some capacity, you are a trailblazer. And it takes us to kind of make things change in this space, right? We want to go from read to read right to read right and own, and I think we all have that opportunity, and that's what Web3 provides. So thanks again for Urban Outfitters and everybody that's here.
Yeah.